Quick disclaimer, I don't speak Chinese, so if I butcher any of the pronunciations during this video, I apologize in advance. The Elegant Lady Fu Xuan. Master Diviner of the Jianzhou Luofu's Divination Commission and the wielder of the Third Eye in the Matrix of Prescience. While her blunt speech and strict attitude can create an intimidating persona, she is a decisive, earnest individual that is determined to protect the Jianzhou Alliance to the best of her ability. Fu Xuan was born into the prominent Fu family, a family of skilled stargazers aboard the Jianzhou Yushe. She was a clever, studious child, often earning praise from her father for her talents. Her destiny was foretold by the diviners on the Yushe long before she reached it, predicting she would claim the throne of Master Diviner. And thus, she began her training with the Yushe's Master Diviner, Jingxin. Over countless years, she would learn about all manner of concepts related to divination from her teacher, engaging in debates and growing ever more restless about the complacency of the Yushe's diviners. In her eyes, they had become over-reliant on their Jade Abacon and resigned themselves to whatever fate had decided for them. One day, after learning that she had been taken on as Jingxin's student only after he had discovered her predetermined future, and not for her talents or connections, she was overcome with rage. She refused to resign herself to fate. She refused to end her teacher's life by her own hands. And so, she made the difficult decision to leave the Yushe and join the Luofu's Divination Commission. With this less restrictive culture, she was able to devote herself to calculations, desperate to prove her teacher's prediction wrong. For centuries she remained, devoting herself to her calculations and rising through the ranks of the Divination Commission. War, however, is inevitable for the people of the Jianzhou Alliance, and they found themselves mired in war once again. The generals responsible for the decisions to be made decided to push forward with a failing plan, despite the warning from Fu Xuan. In her frustration, an idea occurred to her. She hurried to Jingyan, proposing the idea to call down Long, the Rainbow Arbiter, to destroy the minions of abundance and turn the tide of battle. Jingyan agreed to the idea, but Fu Xuan had failed to consider how this plan might come to pass. The idea would invite massive devastation where Lan appeared, and only one person could call it down. Her old teacher, Master Diviner Jingxin. Some years later, she would obtain permission to enter the library and ask a question. It was here that she took on the burden of the Eye, a third eye that would grant her even greater clarity of events to come, but cause her pain for the rest of her life. And it did, enabling her to see the world around her without eyes and see the future in front of her. Recently, she has been working in the Divination Commission, fulfilling her everyday duties and helping to direct the Jianzhou Alliance throughout the stars. She's waiting for Jingyan to step down from his position so that she can claim the seat of the Divine General, but it is likely to be a while before she gets there. As a side note, while it is not mentioned when it happens, she has witnessed Nos, the Wisdom Walker, also known as the Aeon of Erudition. However, she does not walk the path of erudition like the members of the Genius Society. Like most residents of the Jianzhou Alliance, she walks the path of the hunt. Looking at Fu Xuan's design, I find it remarkably consistent all the way through. Her bright pink and purple color palette makes use of the earthy greens, browns, and golds of the Jianzhou Luofu to make her stand out. It also helps to identify her as an outlier, someone who is not actually from the Luofu. And accompanying that, the cloud motifs present throughout her design do inform the viewer that she is still a member of the Jianzhou Alliance. Her clothes and hair are covered in stars and constellations, visually linking her with the concept of fortune-telling and her lineage as a stargazer. She has numerous details throughout her design that help break up the symmetry. Her seal, the knot on the front side of her dress, as well as the constellations on her tights, and her singular earring. Her hair is intricate and seems to partially resemble the YG style, but with long, heavy, low twin tails and low bangs to help fade the third eye on her forehead. Long hair and hair ornaments have been used for centuries by a variety of cultures to indicate status, and Fu Xuan is no exception. Her hair ornament is tall and presents clouds at the end of each of the arms, further visually linking her with the Jianzhou. More interesting for me is the two moon ornaments on either side of her head. In tarot fortune-telling, the moons serve to represent illusion and uncertainty, which closely relates to Fu Xuan's relationship with and some of the fears she holds in relation to divination. Additionally, I found some interesting parallels between her and Chang'e, the Chinese goddess of the moon. In particular, Chang'e was first mentioned in a divination text from the Zhou dynasty. Chang'e is also said to have drunk an elixir of immortality, and in Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio, released in 1776, Chang'e undergoes a transformation as she descends to the mortal realm, shedding her divinity. It makes me think of how in much of Fu Xuan's promotional material, she is descending gracefully from somewhere on high. The focus on divination oozes out of her design, particularly throughout her clothing and her third eye. The third eye has significance throughout history as a symbol of knowledge, sight beyond ordinary sight, and enlightenment. All of these ideas serve to communicate her values and desires to the player, and the third eye plays a vital role in how Fu Xuan interacts with the world. In battle, her animations and appearance help to bridge the gap between her size and her role on the team. Because she exists as a tank unit, it is important to convey durability and strength through her design. Thus, her tassels flare out from her body, she covers the field with charts and constellations, and her matrix floats behind her during battle, artificially increasing her size to look more robust than she would look without it. Her skill and ultimate animation both warp the field in some way, communicating her control of the battle for the duration of the fight. Her skill leaves a giant purple sigil on the ground, denoting her influence, and her ultimate physically places the enemies inside of her hands, subjecting them to her control and showing that nothing can escape the view of her third eye. Overall, her design is remarkably thorough in communicating both her desires and wishes, as well as her role as a protector and as someone who desires knowledge as a method of safety. Even Fu Xuan's name roughly translates as profundity, which, according to Webster's dictionary, means intellectual depth, something profound or abstruse, or the quality or state of being profound or deep. It might be a little on the nose, but it helps to drive home her characterization even further. Through her voice lines, story, and interaction with other characters, we get a fairly solid idea of the kind of person Fu Xuan is. Her personal story, as well as the story of Honkai Star Rail in general, is about facing fate. Is the future truly predetermined? Do our actions have any meaning? Can we change fate? These are the kinds of questions Fu Xuan both seeks to answer and is afraid of finding the answer to. She's someone that seeks to defy fate, but her reality shows her time and time again that fate cannot be changed and that the future is predetermined. And yet she cannot force herself to give up on the idea, because she deeply understands the limits of their prediction devices, the Jade Abakai. The Jade Abakai do not tell the future per se, but rather they take a multitude of information from the past and use it to craft prediction of the future with great accuracy. However, lacking in information limits the Jade Abakai to some degree, and Fu Xuan is willing to trade what she must in order to see with even slightly greater clarity. She has a running theme throughout her kit and story about trading pain for knowledge, taking on greater burdens so that she can achieve even greater heights. She firmly believes everything she does is the best solution for the situation, and is largely confident in her own abilities, at least outwardly. She's confident overall, in fact, speaking sternly and bluntly with even the General Jingyuan, her direct superior. And of course, she has a massive sweet tooth. Part of that stems from her third eye and her job. Both require a large amount of mental work, and as such she burns a lot of energy. She resupplies that energy with sugar, so she often enjoys sweet tea to refuel. Personally, I'm quite fond of Fu Xuan. I've had her since her first banner, and the moment she was introduced in the story, I knew I was going to pull for her. The pink and purples accented with gold really work for me, and her hair really makes her feel important and distinguished. She's a short cutie, and having her personality be that of someone who is stern, but has clear gaps in her quote-unquote defense, helps to give her more depth of character. For example, her voice line when opening a precious chest is,
Unexpected? We shouldn't take too much.
It tells us that even a character whose identity is largely built around her ability to see the future has flaws and gaps in that identity, that she isn't perfect, and that helps make her feel more relatable. Also, as a fun detail, if you look at her shoes, her heels are taller than all of the other characters with the same body type, probably around 1.5 to 2 inches tall. Looking to the future, I would like to see Fu Xuan slowly enter a more prominent role. Of course, I am biased, but I would also point out how her character has been positioned as of right now. Fu Xuan is helping to cover Jingyuan's work while he recovers from Fantilia's attack, and she's expressed a desire numerous times to move up to his position anyway. She's already a prominent figure on the Jianzhou Luofu, and with Jingyuan seemingly being targeted by the Antimatter Legion, she might be taking over that seat sooner than we are anticipating. In addition to that, many of the themes in her story are themes tied closely to the core story of Honkai Star Rail. Numerous times has the story presented us with the concept of destiny and affecting fate. We also know of other characters and NPCs in the universe that interact closely with this idea, such as Elio, who writes the scripts for the Stellaron Hunters, Nos, who seeks to know everything, and Mythos, the Enigmata, who seeks to warp the past and the present to create an uncertain future. Being so closely tied to all of these ideas, it would feel strange for her to never be fully relevant again during the story, at least to me. Of course, I would love for the HSR team to eventually give another playable version of Fu Xuan, similar to how Dan Heng got an upgrade. We've seen them do it in Honkai Impact 3rd and in Honkai Star Rail. We know that March will be receiving some kind of story-related update in the future, and I would like to see another version of Fu Xuan in the future to signify some kind of growth in her own personal story. Also, I would just like to see more versions of my favorite character. While we know mortals can ascend to Aeons, and I would love to argue that Fu Xuan is positioned well to do that later down the line, I think it might be a little bit too far-fetched. Having her become an Emanator would be very cool and is more believable, but still seems too grand for what the story seems to want to do with her. The most I might guess is for Fu Xuan to eventually take the seat of General, and we may potentially get something more for her then. My truest desire, though, would be to see her become an Emanator, either of the Hunt or the Erudition. Thank you very much for watching this video. If I missed anything, please let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing if you would like to see more. I'm curious, what would you like to see happen with Fu Xuan in the future? Honkai Impact 3rd has shown us that they're okay killing off characters, or having those characters changed, so do you think we'll see plenty of that in Honkai Star Rail? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.